The Frog Prince. Once upon a time, there lived a very spoiled princess who never seemed content. The more she had, more she wanted, and she just would not do what she was told. One day, she took her golden ball out into the woods. Although she had been told by her cheap nanny that she must embroider some new handkerchiefs. She threw the golden ball high up into the sky once, twice, but the third time it slipped from her hands and, with a great splash, it fell down into a deep well. The princess stamped her foot and yelled, but this did not help. So she kicked the side of the well and was just getting ready for another big yell, when a very large frog plopped out of the well. "Oh," said the princess, "a horrible slimy frog. Go away at once." But the frog didn't move. Instead, it spoke. "What are you making such a fuss about? A talking frog?" For a moment, the princess was speechless. But then she looked down her nose and said, "If you must know, my most precious golden ball has fallen down this well, and I want it back." When a sudden leap, the frog disappeared down the well. In the wink of an eye, it was back with the golden ball. The princess went to snatch it up, but the frog put a wet foot rather firmly on it and said, "Hasn't anyone taught you many manners? Please and thank you would not go amiss, and anyway, I have a special request to make." The princess looked at the frog in utter astonishment. No one ever dared talk to her like that, and certainly not a frog. She glared at the frog and said crossly, "May I have my bowl back, please? And what is your special request?" The frog did not move its foot, but bent closer to the princess. "I want to come and live with you in the palace, and eat off your plate and sleep on your pillow, please." The princess looked horrified, but she was sure a promise to a frog wouldn't count, so she shrugged her shoulders and said, "Course you can," and grabbed her golden ball from under the frog's foot and ran back to the palace very quickly. That night at the supper, the royal family heard a strange voice calling, "Princess, where are you?" And in hopped the frog. "Oh, bother," said the princess. The queen fainted. The king frowned. "Do you know this frog, princess?" he asked. "Oh, bother," said the princess again, but she had to tell her father what had happened. When he heard the story, he insisted the princess keep her promise. The frog ate very little, the princess even less, and when it was time to go to bed, the king just looked very sternly at the princess, who was trying to sneak off on her own. She bent down and picked the frog up by one leg, and when she reached her great four-poster bed, she plunked the frog down in the farthest corner. She did not sleep a wink all night. The next evening, the frog was back. Supper was a quiet affair. The queen stayed in her room. The king read the newspaper, and the princess tried not to look at the frog. Bedtime came, and once again the frog and the princess slept at opposite ends of the bed. The third evening, the princess was terribly hungry, so she just pretended the frog was not there and ate everything that was placed in front of her. When it came to bedtime, she was so exhausted that she fell into a deep sleep as soon as her head touched the pillow. The next morning, when she woke up, she felt much better for her good sleep until she remembered the frog, but it was nowhere to be seen. At the foot of the bed, however, there stood a very handsome young man in a green velvet suit. "Hello, princess. Do you know that you snore?" he said. The princess' mouth fell up open, ready to yell. But the handsome young man continued, "I don't suppose you recognize me." "Thanks goodness, but it was the frog who rescued your golden ball. It was bewitched by a fairy who said I was rude and spoilt." And here the young man looked sideways at the princess, whose mouth was still hanging open, and the spell could only be broken by someone equally rude and spoiled having to be nice to him. The princess closed her mouth. The king was most impressed with the young man's good manners, and the queen liked the look of his fine green velvet suit. Everyone liked the fact that the princess had become a very much nicer person. Before long, it seemed sensible for the princess and the handsome young man to get married. They had lots of children who were not at all spoiled, and everyone lived happily ever after. The golden ball and the green velvet suit were put away in a very dark cupboard. The end.